Fazia was just saying, I'm the author of a children's book. It's called Doing and Being, and it's right here, and we'll post more information about it. If you have any questions about it and so on, we'll be happy to share information. But, I was inspired to write that book because I have an 8-year-old, so I'm a mom, and he was struggling, and as we all do when we have difficult times in our life with some emotional struggles. And so that book is really geared to children as well as their parents, to kind of help kids and the parents themselves. I think adults need it a lot as well, to help us really focus on the present moment. And just like you've probably done a lot of work with Fazia, we know that mindfulness is the awareness of the present moment. And so I know you guys are very familiar with a lot of the breath work and the belly work and stuff like that. So I will be tapping into a little bit of what I know you already know, to kind of help us go through today's session. But what we're going to do is, keeping in mind that mindfulness is the awareness of the present moment, and our breath is a really important tool. Our breath, that really everybody has, is a very important tool to help us anchor in the present moment, along with our 5 senses. And so what I want to work with you today on is using the sense of hearing, really purposefully paying attention to sounds that we are going to be experiencing today. So, I know that we talked about, and Fazia just said, we want to mute ourselves. And that's going to be very helpful for this session, but that doesn't mean we're going to be able to mute the noises around in our outer world. You're going to hear cars going by, and you're going to hear maybe people's footsteps walking around. And so all of the sounds in our in real world, in every day, is a really big part of our experience, and we shouldn't shut it off. So here's what I'm going to do first. Faz, can you please put that the image up of the mindful and the mindful? So you've got those 2 clouds right there, and imagine those clouds are your mind, right? And every day we have so many thoughts that come up. We focus on them, we tend to hold on to some, we let go. So looking at these 2 clouds, imagine they're your minds. And I want to give you all just a minute to get into your mindful bodies. And I'm going to guess you probably know what that is, but I'm just going to refresh your memory. So if you're sitting on a chair, or if you're sitting on the ground, if you're sitting on a chair or a sofa, you can make sure that your feet are flat on the ground. You want to make sure that your back is straight and your spine is tall as a tree. And I'll invite you to go ahead and just close your eyes. You can rest your hands on your lap and just spend a few moments just having your eyes closed. And just notice, become aware of all the sounds that are around you. You might notice that there's some man-made sounds, maybe some cars. So just go ahead and continue to notice the sounds. What else can you hear besides my voice? And if you're really able to focus really attentively, you might even be able to hear the sound of your breath.
Hi guys.
Before we come back and start to open our eyes, I'm just going to invite you to take a deep breath in through your nose, and then breathe out deeply out through your mouth.
왜냐면 이게
Okay. So we can come back and keep your eyes open now. And so, like I said, we're going to be talking, and I'm going to be talking a lot about mindful listening. And so for those, and maybe we can mute some calls and get some feedback, but how many people want to share kind of what are the sounds that they became aware of in that minute or so? And you just raise your hand, and then we'll just say your name so you can go ahead and give us a response.
Sang, go ahead.
Tell us one thing that you heard. Does anybody want to share a song? What sounds did you hear while you had your eyes closed? Did you hear anything?
Eyes is closed.
Yes. When your eyes were closed, did you hear any sounds?
No.
You didn't hear any sounds? That's awesome. So you were really focused on just the silence around you. That's awesome. I think we have somebody else also trying to wave their hand.
Nida, did you hear something? Oh, we can. You want to unmute yourself? Here.
Yeah, I did.
Oh, okay.
Go ahead.
The TV.
Oh, you
The
can hear the TV.
Yes,
Awesome.
the TV.
What about
Awesome.
you, Brandon?
Footsteps around my house.
The what? Sorry, what was that?
Footsteps.
Footsteps. Awesome.
Yeah, I think I heard footsteps too, and cars going by. I heard some cars going by outside my window. Anyone else hear cars? See some nods. Yeah. Tamsin, Selena heard some cars too.
Yeah, I can hear cars. I can also hear people talking.
Okay.
I can remind myself how to take a deep breath, let it go.
Very good.
Same with focusing, doing something. That's what I like to do. So, and listen.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing. Thank you, Selena. So, so as we noticed, right, Fazia's like, we're gonna mute the calls, and we did, so you could hear me better. But as far as your worlds are concerned, wherever you are, whatever space you're in, whether you're at home or whether you're in the car, we can't quiet the world around us, right? And so, especially when it comes to meditation, oftentimes people feel that meditation can only be done in a quiet space where there's no noise, but it's going to be practically impossible to get a space like that, right? So what we want to do when it comes to meditation, and especially mindfulness meditation, is we want to use our 5 senses to really become aware of what's going on around us. That might be sounds. It could be mom cooking in the kitchen all of a sudden, and we know dinner is going to be ready in 15 minutes, and we can start to smell the food. We might hear sounds. We might even be able to taste without even eating the food. Sometimes because you can smell it, you can almost taste it in your mouth. And so with all the senses that start to get activated in our daily life, you want to just use those senses to bring awareness to the experience rather than, oh my gosh, there's a lot of noise. I can't meditate right now. This is all distracting. Because when we start to focus on the sounds, and if we attach to them, then it's going to become very difficult to just become aware of it. So we want to be aware, but we don't want to hold on to it. Does that make sense? Yeah.
Farahana, can we just maybe take one step back and talk a little bit about why? Like, why is it important to meditate and
so that's a really good question. So why mindfulness and why even meditation? So the benefits are, if we feel like we are losing our attention or our focus on something. So for example, if you feel like you're losing attention on meditation, the mindfulness part really helps us focus better. How many times, let me ask you this, how many times has somebody tried to tell you something and you're having a conversation with someone, and within 5 seconds, your attention has gone somewhere else? Maybe you saw somebody kicking the soccer ball and you're like, oh, and somebody's trying to have a conversation and you lost the attention. I know that happens to me all the time. My son's always trying to say, hey, mommy, da, 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 and I lose attention, and then he's looking at me waiting for an answer, and I have to look back at him and say, I'm sorry, I'm aware that I lost my focus and attention on you. So what was that again? So especially when we're practicing mindful listening, it's really focusing on that present moment. What is going on right now? What is that person saying to me? Are they expecting me to answer a question? Am I supposed to respond? Does that make sense? So paying attention on purpose is what mindfulness is. When we're using mindfulness in our listening skills, again, we're going to pay attention on purpose. We're going to become aware that even though we might be on a soccer field and there's a lot of activity going around, a parent might be trying to conversate with us, and we want to really focus on what they're saying rather than watching the game. If we're going to watch the game, we might as well tell that person, hey, can I talk to you in 15 minutes after the game is over? right? Because we really want to give that undivided attention. Everybody wants to feel heard and listened to, right? And I promise you, even though I teach this stuff, I do realize that sometimes I'm not a very good mindful listener. So I'm working on that as well. Nobody's perfect, but it's a work in progress. Okay, any questions? Foz, was that, do you want to add anything to that, or was that good?
Does anyone have any questions or want like something that you want to learn more about or know about?
Okay, so we're gonna play like this little game, and let's see how it works out. We did a test yesterday and it seemed to go well. So I'm gonna do a little bit of a sound check. And for you all, depending on where your volume is on your computers or on your phones, if it feels too loud for you and it starts to feel like not so good, go ahead and lower your volume. Make sure you don't mute it, because I still want you to be able to hear what's going on my end, but just go ahead and turn the volume down a little bit, okay? So I'm gonna hold this little bell in my hand. It's called a bell, and it's a great tool to use for mindful listening. You may have done this before or maybe not, but here we go. Okay, see if you can hear this. Can I get some nods? For those of you who can hear, can you just raise your hand? Can you hear that? Awesome, cool. And so like I said, can we do this one as well? Let me know if you can hear this. Awesome. So I'm going to use this bell. It's actually my favorite bell. And if you found, like I said, if you found it too loud, you can lower the volume to a point where you can listen, where you can hear it comfortably, okay? But don't put it too low so you can't hear it. And we're going to play a quick game. And this is a mindful listening game. I'm going to do this twice. The first time we're going to do this, I'm going to strike the bell like I just did, okay? And with your eyes open, I want you to listen, like really mindfully listen as best as you can. I know that there's sounds outside in the background and stuff. Do your best to really focus your attention on the sound of this bell. As you listen to it, you'll realize then eventually the sounds are going to fade and become quieter. When you cannot hear the sound at all, when it becomes silent for you and you can't hear the bell anymore, I want you to go ahead and raise your hand for me. Okay, I'll say that one more time. I'm going to strike the bell. Listen closely. Listen mindfully the best that you can, despite all the background sounds. Let the sound of the bell slowly fade and get quieter and quieter. When it's gotten so quiet that you absolutely cannot hear it anymore, I want you to please go ahead and raise your hand. Got it? So to do this, just get into your comfortable mindful body, like get straight, you know, get ready to focus. Like tell your brain, hey, we're focusing right now. It's time to focus. All right. All right. Okay. So you all were able to hear it, and you were all able to see that the sound then was getting quieter and quieter, and eventually you could stop, you couldn't hear it anymore, right? For me, because the bowl is right by me, I could hear it for a really long time, but I noticed that some of you all put your hands up, and that was indicating to me that you could no longer hear it. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Let's just say that was a dry run. Now that we know what's going on, I'm gonna go ahead and do that again, okay? So get into your mindful body, back straight, shoulders back, spine as tall as a tree. Focusing, I'm gonna do that again. Okay. So I hope the sound is coming through to you all good. Let me ask you this question, and Foz, you can just for a short moment unmute the calls for everybody, so whoever wants to respond. So I have a question. So now I want to do the same thing, but I want to do it in a way, I want you to tell me, what do you think that you could do with your body right now to help you concentrate a little better? To really focus, and that might help you hear it better for a longer time. What do you think you might be able to do? I think someone's trying to say something. If you have an answer, just go ahead and raise your hand so Fazia knows who.
Anyone want to?
Anyone want to guess? Do you want me to tell you? Anybody want to try and guess? How can you concentrate a little harder? Something that you could do that would help you focus a little better.
Maybe like stay of focus or something.
How would you better focus?
I don't know. It's like stay still, pay attention.
Yeah, but you, I hope you were doing that before, but a little more focused.
John, what about you? What do you think you can do?
Well, I would say just focus on the main thing. Like, don't have anything else distracting you. Just focus on one thing at a time and stuff like that.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
for
So
sure.
that way you will have one thing focused. Like, let's say if you have another thing you're focusing on, like you'd be like pretty much joking back and forth as to what you're doing.
That's right.
So that could be some good tools for the first time, but in terms of your physical body, something that you could do with one of your, should I just tell you?
Bahar?
Yeah, absolutely.
Close eyes.
What do you think would happen if you closed your eyes?
Yeah, Bahar got it.
Oh yeah, okay, good. Sorry, Bahar, thank you.
You're listening.
Okay, so guys, this is what we're gonna do now. I want you to try it with your eyes closed.
Oh, okay.
Oh boy.
So
Sounds
we've had
good.
our eyes open. So let's go ahead and try it. I'm gonna ding the bell. I want you to go ahead right now and close your eyes. Get into your mindful body with your eyes closed. So everybody make sure you have your eyes closed. No peeking, no cheating.
Ah.
Okay. So just go ahead and mute everybody's calls. Raise your hand if you can't hear it anymore. I see some hands up. That's indicating to me that you can no longer hear it.
Farhana, I would do it one more time because yours got muted for a second.
Oh, okay.
I would
Sure.
just do it one more time. Sorry.
Okay, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do that again. That was just a dry run. Go ahead and keep your eyes closed. Start bringing attention to that focus on listening. We have all calls muted. Awesome. So I'm seeing most of everybody's hands up. Did you find it easier to concentrate with your eyes? Oh, am I muted? Okay. Okay. Was it easier to hear the bell with your eyes open, or did you find yourself concentrating better with your eyes closed? If you have an answer, feedback, just go ahead and raise your hand. Selena?
I think I can hear both of them.
Both of them? Did you
Yeah.
have a preference? Which was better?
I think I would the first and second.
The first and second both?
Yeah.
Awesome. Cool. Anybody else? Thanks for sharing, Selena.
Brandon?
Yeah.
I think with my eyes closed because I'm more concentrated on hearing the bell and when it's completely stopped.
Awesome. That's very typical of what a lot of people say. So a lot of people feel that if they just go ahead and shut their eyes, they can focus more. Maybe because once our eyes are open, we're prone and tempted to looking around and seeing kind of what's going on. And if somebody's walking past us, or if there's any kind of visual distraction, we automatically start to, you know, pay attention to something else. Because our eyes have been stimulated and we're like, oh, we want to look at that because we're curious about that. So yes, that's a really good point. But you know, like Selena said, you know, for Selena it was both. She was able to hear it both and for the same amount of time. So everybody's kind of different, and really there's no right or wrong answer. Everybody has a different experience. So I love to hear everybody's experiences and kind of get their feedback. So that's awesome. Does anybody else need to share?
Brandon?
I was thinking with my eyes open, hearing it, like, even though I'm blind, which kind of doesn't help the purpose anyways, I'm more like, if I hear something else other than the bell or something else that I'm concentrated on, if I happen to hear something else, that will lose my focus. But when I've got my eyes closed, I've got my brain concentrated on what I'm supposed to be focused on.
That is just amazing. This is the first time that I've been doing this with somebody who is blind. And, you know, Brandon, your feedback is so amazing, because for someone who can see, and then if I close my eyes, it feels like what you're sharing is that that just the physical intention to close your eyes means that's an intention you're putting in to focus more. So that's really interesting, and I love that sharing. So thank you so much. I love that. I love that. Thank you. Anybody else with some final words they want to share?
I heard it more with my eyes open. When I closed my eyes, it turned off like 5 seconds. It just stopped when my eyes were closed. I don't know.
Can you say that again?
It was longer when I heard it with my eyes open, and then when it stopped and took 5 seconds when my eyes were closed, and stopped for 5 seconds, and I couldn't hear it after that when my eyes were closed.
Very interesting. See, and this is just what's so amazing about the experience of sharing this particular activity and what it felt like for everybody. And because everybody is different and everybody has a different experience, and our senses are all working in some similar ways, but also in different ways. And so just the way we take in information can vary from person to person. So that's beautiful. Thank you. So I wanted to do another one. And I think that Fawzia covered this in her mindfulness, one of her sessions with y'all when she was talking about mindfulness of emotions. How many people love music? Raise your hand if you love music. Right? We all have different types of music that we like, that we love to listen to on the radio. We have our favorite radio stations. How many people would agree that when you listen to certain songs, different emotions come up? Right? Yeah. Yeah. So let me just do one quick thing here. I'm going to use my YouTube. All right, y'all. I got some surprises for you. I'm going to make this fun. Foz, you're not even expecting this, but it just popped in my head. So this is what I'm going to share. Can everybody hear that?
Yeah.
Give me 1 second. What happened? Wait.
Electric wavy when I turn it on. Off from my city, off from my home. We're flying up no ceiling when we in our zone. I got that sunshine in my pocket.
Who's jamming with me, guys?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So when that song comes on the radio, I need to be really careful and be mindfully driving, because otherwise I'm going to start dancing in my driver's seat. Might not be a good idea. But let's talk about how, when we are mindfully listening to music, for instance, certain emotions come up. So for that song, let's talk about the emotions that were triggered for you all. What came up? You can use one emotion. Give me one emotion that came up for anybody.
Joy.
Joy. Yeah. Another one?
Cheerful.
Excitement.
Yeah. Cheerful, excitement. Yeah. Selena.
No.
Happy.
Happy.
Denise.
Sunshine.
Yeah,
You just say happy too.
Happy. Okay.
Sunshine.
Energetic.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna do another one.
Ready for this one, Jota? Sit up straight. Sit up straight.
Doing another one. Think.
I was mouthing to the words while it was playing.
It is a catchy song.
Okay, y'all ready?
Oh, she's saying more.
This is completely off the fly. Like I have to guess spontaneously, and I'm trying to evoke different emotions. So bear with me, okay? But this is what's coming up for me.
Oh.
Oh
my God. Wow.
No.
All about it, man. I do again. One way.
Where we began.
Again.
Oh, I'll tell you all about it.
Oh, that's you again. Again.
All right. Let's hear it, folks. I know some emotions came up. I want to know.
Sorrow.
Sorrow. Mm-hmm.
Sorrow.
Depression.
Depression. Okay.
Awesome.
Lonely.
Sorry.
Lonely.
Lonely.
Tracy?
Yeah, lonely.
What do you want to say?
Okay.
Tracy?
Remembered all
Makes
my
me want to cry because it makes me think of my father.
Mm. You know, that song in particular reminds me of my father-in-law who passed away a few years ago. And so, you know, it's kind of, and I used to do this before I was a mindfulness teacher. What I would do before is if a song came on the radio and it stirred up emotion in me and I felt like jamming it up, as my 8-year-old and I called it, where he always says to me, "Hey mom, before you drop me to dad's, can we jam it up?" And we jam it up. We're celebrating on the road. We're listening to music. It's really loud. We're rapping. We're doing all kinds of fun things. And if the radio is playing a song where we want to jam it up, sure, you know, our bodies will be moving, we're smiling, and we're joyful and all of that. And then if the next song on the radio is that song, what happens? What happens to our emotions?
All these emotions are gonna go down.
Yeah. So imagine that your scale of excitement and joy is right here because you just listened to Justin Timberlake, right? And
That's right.
then you listen to Wiz Khalifa and
It just drops to the complete bottom.
it just drops to the complete bottom. How many people, and this is what I was trying to tell you that I used to do, how many people switch the radio station?
I did.
How many of us, so there's two things that we can do. We can either stay at that radio station and listen to Wiz Khalifa, See You Again, or we might try and find another upbeat song.
Oh yeah.
So sometimes we switch and sometimes we stay.
Yeah, it depends, I think, on the mood.
Sometimes.
Share with me what you all do. It just depends on the mood, right?
Yeah.
So sometimes I would switch radio stations. Like, let's say if there's one song that is like a good one, I just go for that one. So yeah.
Yeah, me too.
So what's the good song? Is a good song Justin Timberlake or is the good song Wiz Khalifa, or both of them good songs? But right now we don't feel like listening to that second good song because it stirs up a lot of emotions in us.
Yeah.
Right?
I didn't know about that.
So tell me, is it a good song or not a good song, Wiz Khalifa?
It can be in its own way.
And you
Both
know what?
ways.
And again, there's no right or wrong answer. It's just really dependent on how we're feeling in that moment, right? Do we want to be able to process those emotions? Do we want to think about, in my case, do I want to think about my father-in-law? Well, when the song of the radio station plays and it plays my father-in-law the song, then I just kind of feel his presence around me. And I'm like, this is really awesome, And I think about all the great times. But, I also do feel really sad. But what we know about mindfulness is to be aware of the present moment. So when we're mindfully listening to anything, it could be a song, for example, and I'm using the example that we just did right now. Becoming aware of the emotions, which Fazia has talked to you guys about so much. So mindful listening and mindful emotions can really connect because you listen and maybe a memory gets triggered. Maybe a time where you spent with your loved one who isn't here anymore. It might be a breakup of a relationship. It might be a death, maybe someone passed away. And you start to think about, those memories. And so can we think about those memories, whatever they may be, and just kind of be in the moment with them, right? And we just want to bring awareness. We want to say, you know what, this is what sad feels like. What does sad feel like? We don't want to attach to the feeling of sad. We don't want to say, I am sad, right? But we want to say, oh, this is what sad feels like. Okay, when we say what sad feels like, I want you to talk about, how does sadness look like in the mind, in our thoughts? What does sadness feel like in our emotions? What does sadness feel like in our emotional body? Well, we might start crying. So in our physical body, we might start crying. Our heart might feel a little heavier, or like somebody's kind of squeezing it tight, And so we just want to bring awareness to it. With the thoughts, we might think about memories. We might think about the times that we spent with them. So we think about the physical, our body, like crying, the mental, which is our thoughts, and the emotions, which is the sadness that's coming from our heart. Does that make sense?
Totally.
Well, want me to play you another song?
Yes, please.
Yeah.
A surprise song?
Yeah, any song will do.
I have a question.
Okay.
It could be any music, right?
It could be what?
It could be any music, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Any music.
Okay.
Okay.
For me, I listen to some Japanese musics.
Okay.
There's a sad song and a happy song. Yeah, it hit me. It hit me with my emotion.
Yeah. And I'm Indian and I listen to Indian music from Bollywood all the time. And all kinds of emotions come up for me when I listen to Bollywood music. So I'm going to play something for you all. Okay, I'm going to play something and you may not understand it, but just listen to the beats.
Cool.
I can't help it. My shoulders instantly start doing this in the car. It's my autopilot. Have you guys heard of the term autopilot? Right?
No.
When you get triggered, like an emotion comes up or you listen to a song, your autopilot your mind starts to think all the same thoughts we've been thinking over and over again.
Your
Right?
body
Physical
just starts to move.
Exactly, Brandon. I tell you, man, when I listen to Bollywood music, instantaneously, this is what happens to my shoulders.
Like tense.
Autopilot. I just feel like dancing. Okay.
But if you feel
Anyway,
like,
do any of you have any questions for me?
yeah, I do.
Okay.
So what do you so when you're like dancing, like why do your shoulders stay put? Like, do you have any movement?
Why do they stay put, or why do they do this?
What? Like, why do they stay put if you're like dancing?
Like, why do they stay in the same position, you mean?
Exactly.
They shouldn't. They just.
Oh, I see.
We're gonna have a separate conversation about my dance moves another time. I'm gonna teach you some Bhangra. That's what I'm gonna teach you.
Right.
Fozzie
is gonna join us, right, Foz?
Fun. But guys, like, I mean, right now, I think we've talked about it in other sessions as well. We're like, yeah, things are a little bit different, right? We're all home, hanging out at home. Some of us are feeling a bit bored. Some of us are trying to find new things to do and discover new passions. So just thinking about some of the things that we've been talking about today and mindful listening and seeing how different emotions can, like, you can allow yourself to feel different ways. How does that kind of help where things are at right now, like with how you're feeling?
Yeah, for sure.
Selena?
I feel that that music that you just played is more like Indian music, but I really enjoy it. But I feel that I've been listening to one of my CDs. Her name's Leanne Rhymes. She sings The Rose, and my dad used to play it on the piano a long time ago. So that's how I feel. And that's when I get my emotions for it, because really in it. So that's what I think.
Thanks for sharing, Selena. That's beautiful that you shared about how you've had a past experience and that, you know, listening to that song triggers that memory for you.
Yeah.
What I have found to be very helpful when difficult emotions come up, so for example, like with that song where, you know, sadness and missing that loved one comes up and just reminders of how they're not here, but when they were here, what it was like. I've gone through that and for several different reasons in my life, but what I found to be very, very effective, and maybe this is something that you can try. So even if that trigger happens when you are mindfully listening to something and all of a sudden difficult emotions come up, write those emotions down. Like, become familiar with what that emotion is, put a name on it. Like if it's sadness or depression, that's another word that I heard. I heard sadness, I heard lonely. And, you know, write that down. And when you write it down, also write down other sensations or, you know, physical body experiences, heart beating or sweating or crying. And if you write it down and you kind of just write the words and let the words to describe your emotions flow, you know what you might discover and might pleasantly surprise you is you might end up writing something really beautiful. What happened with me is when I started to write emotions down, they turned into poetry. And I ended up publishing that poetry book. So what I'm saying is that even the most difficult emotions, when we acknowledge them and allow them to be in this space right now, you know, and we write it down, it's a form of release. Just like crying is a form of release, writing can also be a form of release. So go ahead and write whatever comes. You don't have to think it's going to become a book. I wasn't thinking it was going to become a book, but I just wrote from the heart. And that just made me feel like I just released all this stuff that was stuck in me. And I was able to transfer it and get really creative with it. You might find that painting is a really good skill as well. If you have like like if you're really good at art or painting or drawing, you know, draw your emotions, create funny characters out of them. You know, like if you feel angry, you know, don't be like, I am angry. You know, I remember Fazia saying that and I love, don't associate with that. Don't create that as your identity. But you know what? You can make a little angry character. You can draw it, color it in, paint it, do whatever you want, give it a name, you know? And so every time that anger emotion comes up and you feel it, automatically you're going to visualize that angry character that you created, whose name is so-and-so, you know? I don't know. Call it whatever you want, but get creative. And maybe in that moment where you're feeling angry, and then you can visualize that character like as if he just came and he sat on your shoulder and he's like, here I am again. Well, you can say, hey, I remember you, Mr. So-and-so. You're coming to visit me right now. Well, thanks for showing up. And after you've had a conversation with him back and forth, then you feel better and you're like, well, thanks for showing up. I'll see you another time. He might show up after 2 weeks. Who knows? But at least you've given him a character reference. You've given him a name. Make him wear all kinds of funny outfits. Every time he comes and visits, he got a new outfit on. So just create a character out of him. Create a sadness character, a depressed character, an angry character. But make sure that these are all your little friends who are here to help you identify the emotion when they come up. And then when you identify it, you can have a conversation with them and then say, peace out when you're ready to go.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Do you have to do the practice sometimes?
Can you repeat that again?
Do you have to do the practice?
Do you have to do the practice?
Yeah. Like
Is that what you-
meditate?
Yeah, look, you can, so people say, I don't have time to meditate. If you take 1 minute, and we're going to share with you, actually, do you want to bring that up, actually? The sheet that we're going to show you a handout. And it kind of ties in with what Fawzia has done with you before. She did mindfulness of the breath, where she taught you the belly breathing. So definitely you can work on the belly breathing. Where
We
you
haven't actually done that yet. The mindfulness video is going to be talked about.
Okay. So I'm going to show you the we're going to get something on the screen, and these are different techniques that you can use. You choose whatever you're comfortable with. You can alternate from day to day what you choose to do, or you can pick one. But we're going to show you different techniques of belly breath. And what you do is before you wake up in the before you get out of bed in the morning, just try doing this for 10 breathing cycles. Okay, so I'm going to show you what those are. The first one, Foz is going to get it together, but but don't even worry if it doesn't work. I'm going to show you, just watch me. Okay, so the first one is what I call the starfish breathing. There we go. Okay, so let's do this one. Okay, so can everybody see this? Number one is the 10 breath cycle. Okay, so you can do this either sitting or laying down. Now, when I say start in the morning, but if you have trouble sleeping because you know you've had an anxious day or you don't know what's going to happen tomorrow and coronavirus is all over the place, okay, well, the 10 breath cycle can be done either sitting or laying down. And basically what you do is you're going to take a deep breath in through your nose, and then you're going to hold that breath just for a moment, you know, just so you are still comfortable. I don't want you holding your breath until you get blue in the face. So just breathe in deeply in through your nose, hold it just for a brief moment as you become comfortable, and then slowly and deeply release that breath out through your mouth. Okay? And as you do it more, like the first one, observe how you're feeling. And when I say observe how you're feeling, I want you to even pay attention to the physical state of your body. Because I know that you all know where you hold stress. A lot of people hold stress maybe at the back of their neck, around their area of their shoulders, maybe in the lower back. But just notice as you take that deep breath in, and then you hold it for a moment, and then you slowly and deeply exhale out of your mouth, you just imagine and feel that stress, wherever it was, you're blowing it out. And I like to tell my son, you know how the big bad wolf and the three little pigs blew and blew and blew and blew the house down? Every out breath of yours is releasing that stress. It's releasing that anxiety. It's releasing that worry. And you're literally, it's like holding a heavy backpack. You are letting go of that heavy backpack. You're releasing that stress so that your body starts to feel a lot lighter. If you do that 10 breath cycles, and when I mean one breath cycle is an inhale followed by an exhale. So you can start your morning doing that 10 times. And you can do it either with your eyes open or you can do it with your eyes closed. So that's the first one. The second one is really fun. If you have little children in the home and you want to do this with them too, it's a super fun activity. You're going to go ahead and everybody can try and do this. So everybody hold your hand out, one hand. It doesn't matter if it's your left or your right. Hold your hand out like this, 5 fingers spread apart like this. And with the other hand, take your forefinger, and we're gonna go ahead and trace up and down, starting from our thumb. Trace up your thumb and down your thumb, and up your finger and down your finger, and up the middle finger, down the middle finger, up the ring finger, down the ring finger, up the pinky, down the pinky. So now that's just a movement I want you to get really used to, and you can do it as slowly as you want, just the pace that you're comfortable with. I'm not going to tell you, don't zoom through it, but go at a comfortable pace. And now that you've become used to the flow of tracing up and down, what we're going to do now is we're going to invite in the breath. So what I mean by that is when you start at your thumb, the base of your thumb, and as you go up your thumb, take a breath in through your nose. So in, and as you come down, you breathe out through your mouth. And you breathe in, and you breathe out. And you breathe in, and you breathe out. And in, and out, and in, and out. Just with one hand, you've already completed 5 breath cycles. And then we can go ahead and switch through the other hand, which I won't do with you right now because I don't want to take up too much of everybody's time. But when you finish your 5, then go to your next hand, switch hands. Now you're using, I was using my right, so I'm using my left. And now I'm using my left forefinger, and I'm going to trace up and down again, in and out with your breath, in and out with your breath. So those are already 2 that you can start with right off the bat. If we were to start today, since you've already, your morning's already hit, you can either do this like have lunch and then do it after. You can do it before you go to bed. So people who have trouble going to sleep, do your breath exercises at night, but definitely also do them in the morning. Visualizing my happy place. Listen, I know that we all have very beautiful, powerful minds. What we think, we become, okay? So if you think scary thoughts, what if this happens tomorrow? Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. You start telling yourself the what if story. I want the what if story that you create in your mind to be the very best. What if whatever your dream is? What if I wrote 2,000 children's books before I died? That would be super swell. That is my what if story. Not, oh, what if nobody likes my books and it's a complete flop? Oh my God, then. You choose your what if story. My what if story is the greatest and best story. So in that space in your mind, what you create, your thoughts need to be so epic and so awesome that they make you feel really good, okay? So the number 3 is visualize your happy place. Look, we're all stuck with COVID right now. We're stuck in our apartments. We're stuck in our houses. There's not much we can do. But guess what? If I want to go to the beach right now, I can do that. And you know how I'm going to do that? I'm going to close my eyes. I'm going to visualize myself with a really cute swimsuit, and I'm going to be on the beach in the Caribbean, just like this. So visualize your happy place where you feel calm and relaxed, and use your breath to help you relax as you visualize this happy space. So anytime, if somebody's watching the news and you happen to come into the living room and they're talking about COVID and oh my God, again, you can just retreat from that space, go into a comfortable place in your bedroom. And can you go to the Maldives? Please go to the Maldives. Go to Mexico. Go hang out on the beach. Go to Florida. Go be somewhere, but don't be infiltrated in this whole COVID conversation because it's a little bit too much. Stay safe, but also be smart and use your thoughts wisely. And then the last one is the belly breathing, where, you know what, I'm gonna let you do this one. Pause.
Oh, you're talking to me? You know what? Because we're just almost out of time, I'm going to leave it. We're going to be doing it tomorrow.
Okay, so we'll leave that one for tomorrow.
Segment, guys, to tell you about tomorrow. I know Farhana's talked about my video a couple of times, and some of you may have watched it, some haven't. It's on the Facebook page, and it's all on mindfulness, and perhaps should have been done before this one because it will be an introduction to mindfulness, but that's okay. That's what we're going to be doing tomorrow, is just going right to the basics and talking a little bit about what mindfulness is, what our imagination is, what's the difference. We're going to talk a little bit about, as Farhana mentioned, mindful belly breathing, mindful eating, mindfulness of our emotions, and we're going to watch the video together and we're going to reflect on some questions. So you can head over to Facebook and watch the video ahead of time, or we can also watch it together tomorrow. So we'll leave that belly breathing one for tomorrow. We can all try it out together.
Awesome.
But before Farhana goes and we all end the session, does anybody have any questions for Farhana? Tracy?
No, Casey.
Tracy, sorry, Casey.
No. Casey.
You said my name wrong. Yeah, I just want to know if that book's for sale. Yeah.
The books are for sale. They're on Amazon. So the publisher's website is selling them a lot more expensive than what you can find them on Amazon. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead, just shop around between the two sites and see what's cheaper. Otherwise, I'm happy to send you a copy as well. I'm selling signed copies for $10 American a piece, and then obviously shipping charges would apply. So if you want to buy them directly from me, let me know who wants to buy them. It's for you. I want to know your name. If you're going to gift it to someone, I want to know who you're going to gift it to so I can personally sign it and send it all over to you.
Okay. Because I was going to give it to my sister for her daughter.
Sounds good.
It would help her out.
Perfect.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, I wanted to ask you, what time is that thing on?
Tomorrow it's at 1 o'clock.
Oh,
the what?
okay.
Yeah. So we'll meet tomorrow at 1.
Oh, at 1.
So can I just say one quick thing about my book? Because I want you all to really focus on paying attention to the present moment. When I wrote the book, I needed to find an illustrator, and I didn't know who that was going to be. And so I was standing in a grocery line, and you know how annoying grocery lines can be when they're really long, because we just want to go home, right? We want to go home, we want to get on with our day. And so I ended up talking to the cashier there because I was being mindfully present in that moment. I got really curious about my cashier. Long story short, I was buying bread from the grocery store, and the guy who was the cashier, he told me he was an artist. He ended up being the illustrator for the children's book, and I was buying bread, and his last name is Baguette.
Okay.
True story. So it really helps to be present in the present moment, because their presence in the present moment. True story.
Wow.
You all have fun.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think that was
Guys.
Thank you for doing
guys.
this.
Thanks everyone for coming today. It was so lovely to meet you all, and hopefully we'll see you again tomorrow at 1 o'clock.
Can we get a quick group picture? Can we get a screenshot picture? Is that okay?
Yeah.
A screenshot picture?
Yeah. Is that okay? Is everybody cool with a picture?
I'm good.
You can make a silly face.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, 1, 2, 3. All right, done. Got it.
Thank you guys so much. You all stay blessed.
We'll see you tomorrow. And
Thank you.
video ahead of time.
Bye.
On our Facebook.
Bye.